Hello everybody and welcome back to Johnny I Builds. We're talking about Python again and I'm going to get us started. I'm going to start by bringing up Python, which you've already downloaded, whatever the current version is. And 10 seconds in, my first mistake. I brought up the Python that has the command line. I'm not using this yet. I think I'm going to use it later in my Python career. But let's try Python idle. That is the easier one. Exactly why yet, I don't know. But yes, I'm just bringing up the program from my lower screen where I have the software that's recording this video. So it should pop up for you. And great, I'm going to hit Windows and then the left button to move it to the left. And I want, for reasons we'll get into later, I want a text file on my right. So I hit new, file new, hit the Windows button, and then the right hand arrow, and there it is. Just so you know, this is going off of a book called Automate the Boring Stuff with Python by Al Sweigart. Sweigart. It's a second edition. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the link below in case you're interested. It's Creative Commons, so there's also videos of the author himself going through it, which I recommend. So here we go. We're going to start with page 8. We were talking about the very basic things in Python programming. The advice at this point is don't worry if it's really basic. Just trust the process. At least that's what I'm going to tell myself here. We're going to go ahead and do some more basic calculator type stuff. So one of the things that we do on page 8 of the book is something like Alice, which is a string, right? That's good to remember. There are different types of data. Alice is a string. And since I put the quotation marks on it, notice how Python recognizes it's a string and turns it green. Alice times 5. Now check it out. It actually does it for me. And the reason is, usually a string and a number don't work well together. For example, if I put just Alice times 5, it gave me an error. And I think the reason is, tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think the reason is when you put in Alice, it doesn't recognize it as a string format. It recognizes it as a number. And a number such as Alice does not exist. There's no number named Alice. So when you hit Alice times 5, nothing. How about when we do one quotation mark, Alice times 5. No. Syntax error, incomplete input. It basically is kind of recognizing, hey, you started to tell me that's a string, but you didn't close it out. So now it thinks that all of this is a string, right? The Alice times 5 is a string, meaning a letter, like an English lettered sentence. So I don't know, let's keep messing around. Alice times 5 with a closed parenthesis. Is that going to work? And it doesn't really matter if you put spaces or not. And it comes back and says, yes, I understand your string. And why? Because the program is already programmed to see this as a string because it's got an open parenthesis and a closed parenthesis. Okay, cool. So going back to what we were doing originally, Alice times 5. If you make something a string in a way that the computer can understand, you can multiply it times 5. And that's a good example of the interplay between different data types within Python. So moving on. There's on page 9, they start talking about variables. And again, variables should not be intimidating. None of this should be intimidating. At least that's what I'm going to tell myself. Alice equals Bob. Now, interesting, huh? Alice equals Bob. What this is saying is Alice in this instance is a variable. It's a placeholder. It's a box that you put stuff in. It can be anything you want it to be, okay? It's a really cool thing that computers can do. So Alice equals Bob. Let's try print Alice. Oops. It doesn't know what I mean by Alice, I think, right? How about if we say print quotation mark Alice? It still doesn't mean, oh, but my parentheses. All right, let's try that. Print quotation marks. Wait, let's try it without quotation marks. We have success. This is syntax. Once you get the syntax in the muscle memory, you do have a good idea of what's going on. At least that's what I'm telling myself. So when you call a variable, you should put parentheses in it so that you're not telling it to print a number, which looks like it defaults to, right? It defaults to thinking that's a number. You tell it to print a variable. So I told it to print what's in the box that I already made called Alice. And it responded, oh yeah, the box named Alice is Bob. That's what's in it. There we go. So that is, in a nutshell, how variables work. There's a couple more examples that the book calls out. So let's go to the example at the bottom of page 9. Spam equals 40. Okay, fine. Now just tell me what spam is. Oh, spam is 40. That's interesting. What if I just put Alice? Hey, Alice is Bob, so I didn't have to do all that stuff I just did. Okay, cool. Eggs equals 2. Eggs. Okay, print eggs. Also 2. Print eggs. Wrong. I didn't put the parentheses. Print quotation mark eggs. What's that going to do? Wrong. Didn't put the parentheses. Print parenthesis, fine. Quotation mark eggs. Eggs. Now, notice how it's blue. So, when I hit egg, when I put in eggs, it was black. So I think it defaulted to a variable. And then when I put in blue, or when I said print eggs, it printed it as blue. And I think blue is a string. So in this case, and this is very interesting, when I said, even though I've set eggs to mean 2 up here, and it remembers it, when I hit print the string eggs, it's not going to view it as a variable, it's going to view it as a string. The computer will use its own logic, which is an important thing for me to understand. So, moving on, let's see. Getting back to the exercise on page 9, spam, let's say, plus eggs equals spam. It gave me an error. And I think it's because I have not assigned a variable to spam. I did assign one to spam, but I didn't assign it to eggs. Wait, I assigned a variable to each one. Spam is 40, eggs is 2. What's going on? Okay, let's just try spam plus eggs. 42. Okay, it's got both of them. I think I know what it is. Spam plus eggs goes back to 42. Spam plus spam, the equal sign. We'll talk about this later, but the equal sign, you need 2 equal signs to actually assign something actually to, you need two equal signs to do one thing but not another. I think one equal sign is used for variables, like we did up here, spam equals 40. And so you need a different operator to do mathematical equals. So you need two equal signs for that sort of thing. And I think that's the problem. So going back to bottom of page 9, spam equals spam plus 2. Let's see what happens. Wait, 42 came up. Spam equals spam plus 2. All right, that worked. Nothing, no error came. So what this is meaning is the computer has reassigned the meaning of spam to be what I had already said was spam, which is 40, and now it added 2 to it. So the new meaning of spam will be the old meaning of spam, which was 40 plus 2. So I wonder if I hit in spam, is it going to give me 42? Oops. It gave me 44. And why? Because I went ahead and accidentally repeated what I did. So it was 42, but then I did it again, so it's 44. And that gave us 44 as a result. Very good. We're going to go through page 10, then we'll be done with this one. A variable is initialized or created the first time a value is stored in it. So initialize is just making a variable. So spam was initialized when I put the variable spam was initialized when I set it up here equal to 40, and then when I added 2, it evaluated to something that is different, a new value. So it changed into 42, and then I did it again, and it evaluated into 44. Okay? So you can also do that with strings. Let's change what spam means. Spam no longer equals 44. Spam equals Johnny I builds. Is that going to work? Hey, wait a second. All right, it looks like it did. Since it's green, that's a string, right? And I did what I needed to do. I put the parentheses in there, I think. Let's see what spam puts out. Input, output. Ah, yes. Output. Johnny I builds for spam. No more 44 because I reassigned the variable. Boom goes the dynamite. All right. Can I do spam equals this? No. Can I do spam equals this with one parenthesis? No. Can I do spam equals this with two parentheses? Oh, you betcha I can. All right. That takes us to the last part of page 10, which is some of the rules for variable names. It can only be one word with no spaces, blah, blah, blah. It can use only letters, numbers, and their underscore, and it can't begin with a number. That's interesting. So a variable can't begin with a number. Let's test that. Spam equals for spam. Invalid decimal literal. In your face, says the program. You can't do a variable starting with a number. That's an invalid decimal literal, punk. Huh. Okay, moving on. Next thing we're going to do is called Your First Program on page 11. Again, the book name is Automate the Boring Stuff with Python by Al Swigert. I'm going to put links to it below. It's Creative Commons, so please don't buy it. You can download it for free. Only buy it if you want to help the author, who, by the way, has his own videos too that you should check out that are on YouTube. I will also post those. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.